A 24-year-old boy was traveling in a train with his old father. The boy looked out of the window of the train and addressed his father and said, "Look, Father, the trees are going backwards." The boy's father smiled and looked at his son, as is smiled at the questions of a small child. A person sitting in front was watching the whole thing. He was sad to see the childish behavior of the young boy, and he started thinking the young boy was crazy. Meanwhile, the boy looked up and said to his father, "Baba, see, the clouds are moving with us." The father smiled again at his son and also loved him and fell in love with his head. But the man sitting in front of him could not bear to see this again at his son. He told the boy's old father, "Why don't you take him to a good doctor?" The old father replied, "I took him, and now we are coming back from the hospital by chance. My son was born blind, and today he has new eyes. Every person in the world has his own compulsion. Do not judge him without knowing the truth. You may be surprised to know the truth." Friends, the story I am going to tell you now, your life can change by listening to it. A man was walking by, and he saw a few elephants on the way, and a man who seemed to be the owner of the elephants was bathing them. To control the elephants, only a thin rope was tied to their next foot. The man said to the owner of the elephant that the elephant will break this thin rope at any time and free itself. "Why don't you tie these elephants with a thick chain?" The owner replied that when they are born, they are tied with a thin rope at that time, because at that time the elephant is a baby with a thick and cannot break that thin rope. After trying again and again, he puts it in his mind that this thin rope will not break from me. And finally, he stops trying to break the rope. Now, this elephant has grown up and can easily break the rope if he wants. But since he has in his mind that I cannot break this rope, so I don't even try. Like these elephants, we humans also try to achieve something in our lives. But when we don't succeed, we lose courage and stop trying again. Failure is part of learning. We should never give up in life. We should never give up in life. Never give up. How did a woman survive without a parachute from 33,000 feet? Viewers, how high can a person fall to survive? Well, falling from a 1- or 2-story building can also prove fatal. But a fortunate woman survived even after falling from a plane going to Belgrade from Stockholm on 26 January 1972. In fact, it is a strange world record of its kind, in which someone survived falling from a height of 30,330 feet without a parachute. At this time, Vaishnav was 22 years old, and it had been 8 months since he started working as an air hostess. During his travel to London, he fell in love with flying after learning English. And when he saw a friend traveling the world as an air hostess, he started doing the same. In 1971, he joined the Yugoslavia's national aerospace company as an air hostage. Because she was a low blood pressure patient, she took a few sips of coffee before the medical examination so that the blood pressure could remain stable. This method worked, and she was selected for training. 8 months later, she became part of the flight from the company's Stockholm to Belgrade, which stopped at Copenhagen. On 26 January, this flight landed at Copenhagen Airport and flew again at 3:15 p.m. And after 45 minutes, this incident occurred. After 4 p.m., a bomb blast occurred in the cargo section of the plane, as a result of which the plane shattered into pieces and it was found 30,330 feet below the ground, killing 28 passengers and crew, leaving only Vesna alive. After the plane was shattered, Vesna was trapped in a food trolley and fell into the area of Czechoslovakia, where a man named Bruno Honke discovered her, who had been a medical volunteer during the Great War of Czech. After colliding with the ground, both legs of the air hostess were broken, while the brain and kidneys were fractured in several places. Bruno took her to the Prague hospital, where she spent several days in a coma. With the fracture of the brain, Vesna also suffered from brain hemorrhage, which made her memory disappear, and she did not remember anything for a month. All she remembered was that she was greeting the passengers during the flight, and that's it. But after seeing her parents in the hospital, her memory came back to some extent, whereas after spending 10 months in the hospital, she started walking again. Doctors did not expect that after getting out of coma, she would survive the coma, but she surprised everyone. The first thing she asked for during the walk was a cigarette, but the medical treatment proved to be very effective. Experts believe that the woman's position in the plane where she fell was a wood and snowy, mountainous area, while the low blood pressure caused her to hit the ground. And in 1990, he was dismissed for participating in protest demonstrations. He died at the age of 76 in 2016. Viewers, do share this beautiful incident with your friends. Viewers, do share this beautiful incident with your friends. And to watch more such videos, subscribe to our channel Zen TV. The Strait of Gibraltar, known to the Aeneas and the Romans as the Pillars of Hercules, is a narrow channel that connects the Atlantic Ocean with the Mediterranean Sea. This small sea channel passes between the two important continents of the world, whose minimum distance is only 0.0. It is 13 kilometers. At this point, Africa and Europe become so close that if one stands on one side and looks, the other continent can be seen easily. But till now, no bridge has been built to connect them. Both continents are separated by land. Numerous proposals have been made in the last few decades to connect the two continents. This route is quite important because it can be used to connect the 45 crore population of the European Union and the 1.5 billion population of Africa. It will have a great impact on the economy of both continents. It will have a huge impact. Trade will increase, transportation will improve, and tourism will also increase to a great extent. But the question is that when there are so many benefits, then why has no bridge been built on the Strait of Gibraltar till now? Once again, the happy Nazarene state of Gibraltar in TV videos connects two important water bodies, the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea. This state is about 57 kilometers long, while its width from Spain's Taffa and Morocco's Ceres Point is only 8 miles or so. It is 13 kilometers, and if we talk about the depth, then the average depth of the entire strait is about 1,200 feet, or 365 meters. This strait looks small, but its importance is very high because it is a natural path between the Mediterranean and Atlantic Ocean. In contrast, the Suez Canal is a man-made canal that provides a route for ships between the Red Sea and the Mediterranean. The width of the Suez Canal is very narrow, and there is always a danger of full-size ships getting stuck in it. State of Gibraltar provides an open route for large cargo ships, which is why the number of ships passing through here is also very high. Every year, ships passing through the Suez Canal are much larger. 20,000 ships pass through the Panama Canal each year, 14,000 through the Panama Canal, and an astonishing 100,000 ships pass through the Strait of Gibraltar each year. Many cargo vessels carry goods from the Western Hemisphere to the Middle East, Africa, and Europe, while others cross the Suez Canal. Similarly, to go from the Middle East to Western Europe or America, ships have to use the Strait of Gibraltar. And because the Strait of Gibraltar is close to fossil fuel-rich countries, oil recovery is also possible. Passing through here is also a daily routine. According to a report, about 300 oil vessels pass through the strait daily, which are worth billions of dollars. The Strait of Gibraltar is an important trading route for the world markets, and due to this, employment of the neighboring countries is also increased. Spain's El Jazir port is connected to the port, which is Europe's largest shipping port, and Morocco's Tangier port is also growing rapidly due to these financial gains from trade and tourism. Looking at the benefits, many people are surprised as to why no bridge has been built to connect these two parts of the world. It is not that this was not thought about. Many feasibility studies and proposals were given since 1979. But there are some issues due to which it will not be so easy to build a bridge here. First of all, let's talk about the cost of this bridge. According to estimates, the cost of building a bridge on the Strait of Gibraltar can go from $5 billion to $20 billion because this bridge. It will be very difficult to build a bridge in comparison to other big bridges of the world. Firstly, whatever bridge has to be built here, it should be designed in such a way that even the biggest ships of the world can pass under it easily, which is easy to say, but perhaps difficult to do. Why this is difficult, we will talk about it later, but who will bear this cost of $5 to $20 billion? Obviously, the countries which are taking advantage of the Strait of Gibraltar will have to bear this cost, that is, Spain and Morocco. Political leadership of both these countries, Spain could never reach an agreement. Spain says that Morocco will benefit more from the bridge, and hence it should bear the higher cost. Morocco's leadership wants this cost to be divided 50-50. The second issue is the feasibility of the bridge, i.e., after its construction. How beneficial will it be? For example, if we talk about the Channel Tunnel being built between the UK and France, it cost $145 billion. But every year, more than 20 million passengers use this tunnel. One passenger from the UK-1 can reach France for £121 or $150, i.e., this tunnel earns about $30 billion every year, double its construction cost. Similarly, if a bridge is built on the Strait of Gibraltar, would it earn this much? This will make it possible to recover the cost of the bridge easily. This is seen with a load, seen with a lot of doubt, because Morocco is a country whose GDP is only $130 billion, which means half of Pakistan. If a bridge worth even $5 billion is built here, then it is not possible to build a bridge. If the fee is set at $20, the cost of the bridge can be recovered by using the Channel Tunnel from the UK to France with 20 million passengers annually, while the Strait of Gibraltar Bridge can be used by 250 million passengers annually. That there are a lot of tick numbers, the next issue is the construction of the bridge. As you know that the Strait of Gibraltar is a very busy route for ships. Keeping this in mind, a bridge will have to be built here which does not disturb this traffic. For this bridge, the height of the strait will have to be kept very high, which will be a big challenge for the engineers. The average depth of the Strait of Gibraltar is 1,200 feet, but at some places it is more than 3,000 feet deep, i.e., deeper than the world's tallest building, Burj Khalifa. Till date, the world's largest bridge pillars are built in the Millau Viaduct, and their height is also only 1,104 feet. While in the Strait of Gibraltar, there are pillars that are more than 3,000 feet high. Standing underwater would be a task which makes engineers very nervous. And on top of that, the strong currents of water here are also not the same. At the bottom of the ocean, water flows from east to west, and on the surface from west to east, which means if tall pillars are erected here, they will have to bear the pressure of water from both sides. But the biggest threat to this bridge will not be from the world's largest pillar standing in water, but from the tectonic plate of the Earth. Yes, the crust of our Earth. Different sections, it is made up of what are called tectonic plates, and they are constantly moving. And where these plates meet, earthquakes are very common. Unfortunately, the strait above the place where the African and Eurasian plates meet is called the Eurasian Plate. This is off Gibraltar, which means that even if a bridge is built here, the consequences can be very disastrous. In this region, surviving an earthquake is just a matter of time. In 1755, the Lisbon earthquake occurred, whose magnitude was magnified in Portugal, Spain, and Morocco. There was a lot of destruction, like the 5.7 Magnesia earthquake in 1960, which caused devastation in Agadir and Morocco. That means building a bridge over the Strait of Gibraltar means that it will have to face the high currents of the Atlantic Ocean, and on top of that, 9 or 10 Magnesia. Along with all these dangers, the ocean floor of the Strait of Gibraltar is also not stable. Researchers say that there are layers of soft clay beneath the strait which cannot support any structure. This soft clay can break during geological activity. Soft clay beneath it can easily move under any kind of pressure. Geologists have warned that any construction project in this area can fail disastrously because of these clay channels. But this does not mean that both the continents cannot be connected in any way. Several alternatives have been proposed, such as a tunnel under the ocean floor, like the Channel Tunnel between the UK and France. But this will increase the cost of the project further, which will put a question mark on the feasibility of the project. It raises a question mark. On the other hand, Spain and European Union countries believe that after building the tunnel or bridge, the number of African refugees or illegal immigrants in Europe will increase, which will be very difficult to control. All this is wujuhat, due to which, despite there being no distance between the two continents on the Strait of Gibraltar, no bridge has been built here till date. Hope you will like and share this video of Zen TV as well. Thank you very much for your loving comments. In the next awesome video, 15th August, 1977, Ohio Wesleyan University was going through a routine day. But tonight, something was about to happen here that will remain a mystery to humans for years to come. At 10 p.m., a 30-meter wide reflector of the Big Ear radio telescope detected a very large radio signal detected. This signal passed through the telescope, reached the IBM 1130 computer, and from here, it was automatically converted to the printer. In this dark control room at night, apart from the sound of the printer, there was absolute silence. The printed signal on the paper was suppressed among all the other printouts, and at present, no one knew that the Big Ear telescope had detected an alien signal coming from the Sagittarius constellation in the sky. A few days later, the control room technician picked up all the printouts and left them at the home of astronomer Jerry Eman, whose job was to investigate the signals received on the telescope. The signals were written in the numbers 1 and 2 on all the other pages, but at one point, he found some strange numbers and letters written on it. 6, E, Q, U, J, 5. Jerry Eman saw this signal and highlighted it with his red pen and wrote WOW next to it. Since then, it has been known as the WOW signal. But what was so special about it? Why has this mystery been made for astronomers for the last 47 years? And was this signal from the Sagittarius constellation a message from aliens, or just a coincidence? Welcome to Zen TV videos once again. There was a study behind the importance of the WOW signal, which was released about 18 years before this incident. It so happened that in 1959, physicist Philip Morrison and Giuseppe Cocconi of Cornell University released a paper in which it was hypothesized that if there is any extraterrestrial civilization in the universe, it will use a frequency of 1,420 megahertz to communicate with us, that is, the people on Earth. Frequency of 1.5 megahertz. The reason for this is that this frequency comes naturally from hydrogen, and we all know that hydrogen is the most common element in this universe, and it can be a common and understandable reference for every technologically advanced civilization. That is why this frequency is considered for extraterrestrial communication. After this study, in 1973, Ohio State University dedicated its radio telescope, Big Air, to find signals of extraterrestrial, that is, signals of intelligent life outside the Earth's atmosphere. And this mission was named Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, or SETI. This mission was the longest-running mission of its time, designed to search for life outside the Earth. The Big Air Radio Telescope was located near the Perkins Observatory on the campus of Ohio Wesleyan University. Its mission was to scan different parts of the sky and detect any intelligent signal that came from outside the Earth. To understand the data of the Big Air Radio Telescope, astronomer Jerry Amon was assisted, who was happy to do this work. On the night of August 15, 1977, the signal received by the telescope at 10:16 was so unique and powerful that Amon and his fellow scientists were amazed. The telescope recorded this signal for 72 seconds, which became 6 EQUJ5 after computer conversion. The numbers and letters in this signal are not a hidden message, but they show the intensity of the signal. The VOW signal shows the time of 12 seconds. That is, the telescope detects the signal for 12 seconds, records it in the computer, and then starts recording the next 12 seconds. That is, if there are 6 characters in the VOW signal, and each character is 12 seconds, then it means that the VOW signal reached the telescope for a total of 72 seconds, to the ground. Let me tell you that when there is no signal received in the telescope, it records the value of 0. The smallest signal is 1, and as the numbers increase, the intensity of the signal increases. Normally, in the Big Ear telescope, signals of 1 to 3 or 4 intensity were received, but the WOW signal started with 6. If the signal is of a higher value than 10, it will be converted into alphabets, such as 10 means A, 11 means B, and 12 means C. Similarly, it will move forward. The second part of the WOW signal was 6 in the last 12 seconds. It became 14 in the next 12 seconds. The third Q is 26. The highest value of this signal was 30, which was converted by the computer to U, and in the last 2 parts, its value became J, i.e. 20, and then 5. The most special thing about this WOW signal was that it was only heard on the 1420 MHz frequency channel, the same frequency that is naturally emitted from the hydrogen element. This is why, in the eyes of astronomers and scientists, this signal has been sent from space by a civilization that is as intelligent as us humans. Now, you must be wondering that there are so many asteroids, planets, galaxies, and clusters in the universe. It may be that this signal was generated randomly from somewhere. So why is it being connected to aliens? Actually, the year 2025 has just begun, and the predictions of Simpsons are coming true. The wildfire in Los Angeles spread terror over thousands of acres of land and destroyed homes. A scene of this kind was seen 9 years ago on September 25th. In 2016, Simpson has already shown an American town where due to some reason a fire broke out, and the whole town turned into smoke. After the fire was extinguished, the aerial photos of Los Angeles County that are coming are surprisingly similar to the scene of Simpsons. It is quite similar, but how much truth is there in it? What is the secret behind Simpsons predicting the future many years in advance? You must have seen this photo many times before, in which Donald Trump is seen with Saudi King Salman and Egyptian President in 2017. He is placing his hand on a light globe. This photo is a puzzle in itself, but the thing that is not understandable is, how did Simpsons predict this scene in 2002? And what is the actual truth behind it? Is it really true that the powerful people have planned everything in advance and apart from the Los Angeles wildfire for 2025? Which of Simpsons' predictions have a chance of coming true? Once again, happy spectators are seen in the videos of Zen TV. The Simpsons is a legendary animated sitcom series whose first episode was broadcast when most of us were not even born, on 177th December 1989. Since then, more than 700 episodes have been released, and now it has made history in both cartoon and drama categories. This cartoon has become the longest-running scripted show of 2018. Earlier, it was very popular only among children, but now there is no age limit for its audience. And the biggest reason for this is the events shown in it, which are relevant in the real world after many years. There's a long list of The Simpsons predictions that have come true in the past. A 1998 episode featured Homer Simpson sitting on a blackboard. Someone standing in front of the computer is trying to invent something new by writing mathematical equations. At that time, probably no one had seen this clip. But 14 years after this episode was launched, in 2012, scientists discovered the Higgs boson particle, which is also called the God particle. Yes, Higgs boson. There is a particle in the universe which gives weight to every object. If this particle was not there, then nothing would have weight, and perhaps the shining stars, planets, and even we people would not have any existence in this universe. This is the reason why Higgs boson is also called God particle. The discovery of God particle has surprised many, but what is even more surprising is that the physicist who discovered God particle in 2012 says that the idea which Simpson had drawn on the blackboard 14 years ago, the equation I was writing, was very close to calculating the mass of the God particle. Moving forward, in an episode broadcast in March 1995, Lisa was seen in London. In the scene shown in the movie, London's famous Big Ben Tower was shown behind, which London Bridge can also be seen. But there is one thing in this picture which was not present there at that time. How did the Simpsons know that this cone-shaped skyscraper was right there? After 17 years, a skyscraper of the same shape will be built at the same place, which is now called the Shard. The construction of this building began in 2009, 14 years after that episode of The Simpsons. How can such a big coincidence happen? Even if we assume that it was just a coincidence, is this also a coincidence? In an episode of 1998, the logo of 20th Century Fox was shown. There is nothing special in this logo, but if you look below it, it says Division of Vault. Although 20th Century Fox Studios was not owned by Walt Disney at the time, 21 years after this episode was published, Walt Disney did in fact purchase 21st and 20th Century Fox Studios. In the year 2000, in The Simpsons episode Back to the Future, Lisa is shown to have become President of the United States and has a very small budget. In a meeting, Lisa says that this is all a result of the policies of the previous U.S. president, including President Trump. He was held guilty by name. The question here is that when this episode was released, Trump was a well-known businessman, but there was no chance of him becoming the president. This clip of the episode went viral only after 16 years in 2016. In another scene where Trump became the President of the United States for the first time in 1998, The Simpsons showed Trump going down an escalator, and the same scene was repeated in 2015 when he came down the escalator of Trump Tower and was giving the news of his candidacy to the media. There was a scene in a Simpsons episode where Lisa shows a list of people she says will win the Nobel Prize in the future. If you look closely at the list, there is a name called Banks R. Homer. Surprisingly, the thing is that this episode was released in 1998, but in 2016, Banked R. Homer actually got the Nobel Prize. It was the predictions of Simpsons, due to which this animated series got a lot of fame. People are surprised to see that even many years ago, how does Simpsons predict the future so accurately? The questions that are coming to your mind are the same ones that are in my mind too. But to answer them, in this episode, Lee goes to London and replaces the analog clock on the famous Big Band Tower with a new one. A digital clock was seen installed. It may not be possible to make the Big Ben clock digital forever, but it is not impossible either. If it is done temporarily, it will be a very important day in history. You can read this here. Let us tell you that in 2022, renovation work was done on Big Ben Tower. And during this time, it was definitely thought that on the occasion of any special event in the UK, if the clock of the tower could be turned off for a short time, if it is made digital, then it will be a turning point in history. Now, will it be the year 2025 when a digital clock will be installed on this tower? Only time will tell. The next prediction in our list is that USA has never had a female president in the history of America. Female president did not come, and regarding this, Simpsons has predicted that a female president will come in America. In 2016, Hillary Clinton took part in the election, but she was not successful. And now, in 2024, Kamala Harris has also tried her luck, but now Donald Trump has won the election again and will join the office on 20 January 2025. Then, how can there be a chance of a female president in 2025? This idea was floated in another scene of The Simpsons when Ivan's 2028 was written on a small badge. It is possible that Donald Trump's daughter Ivana may announce her candidacy for the 2028 election in 2025 itself, but at present she is not a part of American politics. This is the next Simpsons prediction that may come true in 2025. In a 2010 episode, The Fool Monty, it was shown that Mr. Burns created a mind control device that could control people's minds against their will. And now, let us tell you that the world-famous billionaire Elon Musk, whom you know only as the owner of companies like Tesla, Space One, and Starlink, also has another company by the name of Neuralink, and this company has been working on such a device for the last several years. A device is being worked on, which will connect the human brain to the computer. Currently, its work will be to control diseases like paralysis, Alzheimer's, and epilepsy. There is a plan to present the prototype of this device to the world in 2025. On February 23, 2020, an episode of The Simpsons. In the episode, Professor Frink created his own crypto coin, which was named Frink Coin. After this, Professor Frank becomes the richest person in Springfield, which is a fictional town in this animated series. In this episode, in a funny way, the importance of creating wealth through cryptocurrency and digital assets has been shown. In another episode of Simpsons, cryptocurrency is shown replacing traditional currency. Cryptocurrency experts say that perhaps 2025 will be that year because Donald Trump promised before the election. He had said that he would make America the crypto capital of the world, and now he is going to join office soon. Let's move on to the next prediction. In a 1996 episode, fusion energy was mentioned. Here, let us tell you that fusion energy is more energy efficient than today's clean energy. It is also more powerful because it does not produce greenhouse gases, generates more power from less fuel, and does not leave long-term radioactive waste as compared to fission, which is currently used for energy generation. 2 years ago, a lab in California has successfully demonstrated the fusion reaction which Simpson had hinted at in 1996, and it is possible that in 2025, a prototype of this will be presented to the world. If this happens, it will be very useful in generating electricity. Hydropower will be cheaper than wind turbines and solar, and it will not harm the environment either. Now, before we get to the secret of Simpson's predictions, let's look at one last prediction which may come true in 2025. In a 1995 episode, Lisa Maid used a holographic phone in which the person on the other side of the phone appeared in front of him in a 3D projection. Meta and I are already working on it, and it is possible that this thing will be launched in 2025. 30 years ago, The Simpsons used this technology as a joke. But now, with augmented reality and holography, we may see 3D calls instead of video calls in 2025. While many predictions of The Simpsons have actually proved to be true, when this animated series became very famous, people started using it as a way to get attention. Some of its scenes were also deliberately copied for the show. For example, in a 2012 episode, Lady Gaga was shown performing in a concert while hanging in the air wearing a silver dress. And then, in 2017, Lady Gaga actually performed the same performance. Similarly, Andy Mice. Leigh Cyrus copied the wrecking ball scene from Simpsons, which was originally released in 1994. Similarly, many things were done deliberately to get media attention. But the other side of the story is yet to be seen. It has happened many times that after the real events took place, Simpsons made a cartoon of it. It was shown on social media as if it was a years-old prediction. In the beginning of the video, you saw a burning dream. Had you seen the photo of the globe? This was not predicted by The Simpsons years ago. This is a real photo from 2017 in which Donald Trump, King Salman, and the Egyptian president held the globe while launching a center against extremism. This photo went viral. After this, Simpsons also made a cartoon of this scene and posted it, and then people showed it on social media as if Simpsons had predicted it in 2002. Now, because Simpsons is famous, this is the reason why people believed it. Similarly, the scene of Donald Trump coming down the escalator was also made and posted by Simpsons after it happened in reality. The escalator scene is actually from June 16, 2015, and Simpsons set this scene. Posted on July 2015, but so many predictions have turned out to be true. So, how does this animated series predict the future? The Simpsons' future prediction is neither based on their shrewd observations, nor is it merely a coincidence or a conception theory. It is not that there are any powerful people behind them. The writers of Simpsons are also well aware of this, and they are a team of very talented people who take stock of the situation and predict what will happen in the future, like when Simpsons introduced smartwatches and video games. Prediction of calls. At that time, there were only line phones in the houses, but this idea had already been floated, and with the speed at which technology was growing, it was not difficult to guess that, in the future, there will be video calls as well. Like today, we all know that, due to global warming, one day all the glaciers will melt. So if today Simpson makes such a prediction, and in the coming 10 to 20 years, a big glacier melts, then everyone will say that Simpsons predicted it. But the writers of Simpsons follow the trends of technology and politics very closely and show these trends in the show in an exaggerated manner. And we should not forget that there are more than 700 episodes of Simpsons. These have been released. There are countless ideas and a huge number of scenes in them. Out of so many scenes, if 1,015 scenes match with any future event, then it is not a big deal. Showing Donald Trump as the president in the year 2000 was also just a coincidence. At that time, when Trump had just entered politics, The Simpsons jokingly showed him as the president. Similarly, in a 1995 episode, the scene behind Big Ben Tower, a cone-shaped building, was shown. Simpsons had very clever observations behind it. The place where this building, the Shard, is standing, there was another tower earlier which was called South Walk Towers. In 1990, this building became outdated and was demolished. It was planned to build an iconic building here, and this news was also published in newspapers. Now the writers of Simpsons knew that an iconic building will be built at this location in future, and at that time the cone-shaped design looked very futuristic, so they chose this building. A cartoon was made of it, which later matched with the real building. Actually, this was not a prediction, but just a coincidence. I hope you all will like and share this video of Zen TV as well. I appreciate your loving comments immensely. Thanks, see you in the next great video. 9th August, 2024, Flight 2283 of Vopas Linhas, a local airline of Brazil, was seen falling terribly from the sky in different videos. This plane, named AR-72500, was a Brazilian passenger aircraft which was going from Cascavel to Sao Paulo but could not land. Just a few minutes ago, it met with an accident in which 57 passengers and 4 crew members lost their lives. This was not only Brazil's first dangerous crash after 2011, but it is also considered the deadliest in Brazil's aviation history. See video, it can be seen that the plane is falling from the sky like a cut kite in free fall. After the release of the video, a wave of fear has spread among those associated with the aviation industry, because no matter which aircraft it is, it can never fall in free fall. The plane cannot come down by falling. It always comes down by gliding. Then, what was the reason? An investigation has been launched by the authorities regarding this. But what happened a few minutes before the crash, which may be the reason for this accident, once again, happy spectators can be seen in the videos of Zen TV. Vopas Linhas is a local airline of Brazil which covers most of the domestic destinations. They have 8 AR-7250 aircrafts, one of which crashed on August 9th. The crashed A-72 has 2 turboprop engines, and the number 72 in its name indicates its seating capacity. It was built in France and Italy by aircraft manufacturer ATR, while Airbus also has a 50% stake in the company, which shares its technology with ATR. The AR-72500 of Flight 2283 was 14 years old, which was bought by Linhas from Indonesia's Pata Air Service in 2022. As I mentioned earlier, this airline mostly operates only on local destinations. According to the flight data record, this is Sao Paulo on 9th August 2024 at 9:06 a.m. It took off from, and its destination was 700 kilometers west to Cascavel. Its trip went perfectly. It landed safely in Cascavel after 2 hours and 11 minutes at 11:01 a.m. The flight was already at its scheduled time. It was late by 10 minutes, and it had to load passengers from Cascavel and then go back to Sao Paulo. That is why, after unloading, the cleaning work was done very quickly, and exactly after 41 minutes, it took off from Cascavel to go back to Sao Paulo. There were a total of 57 passengers and 4 crew members, including the pilot, in the plane. 61-year-old Ambet Decompose was the flight captain. 35-year-old Danilo Santos was the first officer, and 2 female cab crew were also present. What happened from takeoff to crash? What was visible on the radar screen? You can also see all this. At 11:58 a.m. local time, Flight 2283 took a left turn as soon as it took off from Cascavel, and at 17,700, the altitude of 17,700 feet was maintained, which is also called cruising altitude. After 23 minutes of takeoff at 12:22, the altitude of 177,000 feet was maintained. If one goes straight from Cascavel to Sao Paulo, there is a huge mountain range in between which has to be avoided. To do this, most planes either fly over the Pacific Ocean in the east or fly over land in the west. Flight 2283 also took a slight left turn to bypass this mountain range and then headed straight for Sao Paulo. According to the radar, the first 1.5 hours passed in a very normal manner, in which the altitude of the plane was around 177,000 feet, and the ground speed was 460 kilometers per hour. At 17 minutes, Flight 2283 took a sharp left turn and headed towards the city of Campinas, from where it had to make an approach and land at Sao Paulo Airport at 2 minutes, when it was present above the population in the south of Campinas, when for the first time its ground speed decreased. It was earlier moving at a speed of 460 kilometers per hour, but suddenly its speed dropped to 159 kilometers per hour. What was the reason for this is not known yet. But in the next minute, at 1 minute and 2 seconds, the pilot maintained his ground speed back to 400 kilometers per hour. Till this time, the pilot had not given any information to ATC. This was the point from where the direction was to be towards Sao Paulo Airport, and we can see in the radar that the pilot started to turn the plane to the right, but just after 13 seconds, at 1, 2, and 15 seconds when he was turning, suddenly the plane went to the right. The ground speed decreased, and along with it, the vertical speed, that is the speed at which the plane goes up or down, started decreasing. It was observed in the radar that the plane flying at 10,000 feet started coming down at a speed of 13,000 feet per minute, and that too at a circular speed. It kept rotating, and during this time its ground speed, i.e., the forward speed reduced from 400 to 100 kilometers per hour. This entire process took only 1 minute and 14 seconds, i.e., in such a short time, the plane fell straight to the ground from 177,000 feet. During this time, the plane was coming down at a speed of 180 feet per second, and the pilot probably did not have enough time to alert the ATC about his situation at the point where the vertical speed of the flight, ET, started decreasing, and at the point where there is a distance of only 1.3 kilometers between the two places where it crashed. What was the real reason behind this sudden fall will be known only after investigation. But according to the information available till now, the area where the crash took place had a height of 12,000 to 21,000 feet. Information about the formation of ice at altitude was given to all the pilots in advance, which is also called sigmatic, at meteorology information. If ice starts forming on the wings of the aircraft, it can be very dangerous. This happens because the ice changes the aerodrome of the aircraft, and the air that gives it lift is now reduced. Another problem that occurs due to ice formation is that the wings, ailerons, and elevators, which are the main components of the aircraft, get damaged. There are moving parts of the aircraft, ice gets stuck between them, and they cannot move. That is, despite the input given by the pilot, the plane will not be able to turn right or left. To avoid this, often modern aircrafts have an automatic heating system which applies ice to important parts. It does not allow the ice to freeze. There are some aircraft on which a special chemical is sprayed before the flight so that the ice does not freeze. Different types of de-icing systems are installed in ATR 72500. Its wings are fitted with pneumatic de-icing boots, which are, the snow is removed from the aircraft, and similarly, de-icing systems are installed in its propellers, windshield, and engine. And despite all this, if there is a forecast of snow in advance, then the pilot tries to avoid that altitude or that place, where there is a possibility of ice formation. After the crash, the black box of Flight Lot 283 has been recovered, and it is expected that the real reason of this crash will be revealed in the coming months. But for now, it remains a mystery as to how the plane fell to a height of 177,000 feet. How does the ship go straight down? I hope you all will like and share this video of Zen TV a lot. Thank you very much for your loving comments. See you in the next amazing video. On the morning of the 6th of January 2025, at 11:15 a.m., a man named David Morrow was enjoying the view of the Pacific Ocean, sitting on his balcony. As usual, it was a normal day. Meanwhile, he saw a fire with flaming sparks on the hills of the Pacific Palisades, about 5 miles away from his apartment. Fire. In just an hour, the fire spread so much that smoke covered the mountain. In a satellite view, this fire was first reported on the mountains of the Palisades, but a few hours later, it spread to the areas of Eaton, Hearst, Kenneth, Getty, Skirball, and San Fernando. The moment this fire started, the winds were blowing at 100 kilometers per hour, which were blowing in the direction of the ocean. Now the question is, if the first fire was in the Palisades, which is very close to the ocean, then how did the fire spread in the opposite direction of the wind, 30 to 40 kilometers away? Welcome to Zen TV's videos. Viewers, this fire has destroyed a total of 38,000 acres, or 150 square kilometers of area. More than 12,000 buildings and houses have been destroyed, and 180,000 people have left their homes, which has not been completely extinguished during the production of this video. Every possible attempt to extinguish the fire is failing. Water bombers are throwing 45,000 liters of water at a time, which is equivalent to a few drops in front of this fire. Special chemicals are also being thrown with the help of water bombers, but all the effort is being seen to be in vain in front of nature. California, where there is a shortage of water than before, due to which often the fire hydrants were empty. Also, due to the spread in different areas, firefighters and their equipment were also divided. And on top of that, when the winds of 70 to 100 kilometers per hour fell on the fire, this fire started to flare up even more. Los Angeles wildfires are a hot spot in California. California has been a hot spot for wildfires for 25 years. In 2003, Cedar Fire in San Diego County set fire to 273,000 acres. The fire that started on the 25th of October killed on the 4th of November 2003. In 2017, Tubbs Fire burned 36,000 acres, and this took place in the month of October. Again in 2017, Thomas Fire created 280,000 acres of ash. This fire started in December and ended on the 25th of November 2017. In 2020, Glass Fire attacked 67,000 acres and ended in September and October. If we look at the dates of all these wildfires, one thing is very common in them. Winters, that is, these wildfires have been in place since centuries. And now, Los Angeles wildfire is also in peak winters. So, what is the reason that in the history of California, most of the wildfires have been in place only in winters? The answer to this question is hidden in a phenomenon which is called Santa Ana winds. Yes, Santa Ana winds. Yes, Santa Ana winds are hot and dry winds that blow through Southern California and Baja California, especially during autumn and winters. If you look at Google Earth, far, far east of California, there is only desert, which is also called Mojave Desert, or Great Basin. Sunlight warms the desert, which causes the air pressure to rise. On the other hand, the ocean is cold and has low pressure. We learned in 6th grade that the air travels from high pressure to low pressure. The more pressure there is, the faster the air travels. And this is what happens here. Santa Ana winds from southeast California move fast towards the ocean. This dry and hot air sucks moisture from wherever it passes, which causes the entire region to dry up in this weather. Trees and bushes are completely dried up, which become very easy to catch fire, where wildfires turn the entire forest into a fuel for wildfires. And if there is an accidental fire, the strong winds make the fire even more intense. The burning coal spreads rapidly, and as soon as the spike flashes, the wildfire is out of control. Now, the direction in which the wind is blowing, the wildfire should spread in the same direction. But in the case of Los Angeles, it was seen the other way around. The first fire was seen near the Palisades, which is close to the ocean, and then it spread to inland areas. To understand the real reason for this, we have to understand an interesting phenomenon, which is called the windward side. And the other side of the mountain where the wind is supposed to go is called the leeward side. When the windward side stops the wind, a vortex effect is created on the leeward side. And in this vortex, the wind below the mountain is the other way. This phenomenon also plays a big role in the case of Los Angeles. The first place where the fire was reported was the leeward side. And here, due to the mountain wave rotor, the wind was generated in the opposite direction below the peak of the mountain, which became the biggest reason for spreading the fire in inland areas. And areas, it is like a tornado, but it has only fire and heat. The unbelievable heat generated by wildfire immediately heats the air around it and pulls it up. Due to the heat, the hot air rises very quickly, and cold air comes from below to fill that place, creates a rotational motion that pulls the nearby dry bushes into a fire tornado and makes the vortex even more terrifying. Now this fire tornado overpowers the wind in the area and starts creating its own wind inside itself, which is very difficult to estimate the direction. But most of the time, it will increase the wildfire. Wildfire is a reality, and due to climate change, it will be more frequently seen in the coming years. America also has the latest technology to control wildfires. First of all, infrared cameras take the real-time data of the fire. Satellites help in monitoring the size and location of the fire. Today, artificial intelligence helps in predicting the direction of the fire. And then, all this information is sent to the firefighters. Firefighters try to spray chemicals around the fire does not spread. But in Los Angeles, firefighters used to control the fire in one area, so that the fire spread to the other area through the air. In the history of America, the first recorded wildfire was in 1871 near Michigan. In this wildfire, 12 lakh acres of ash were seen, and 2,500 lives were lost. The past is gone. From the 1871 Pestigo fire to the Los Angeles wildfire, nature is pointing us to the fact that it is still almost impossible to control fire. But if we try to understand nature, and instead of fighting climate change, try to follow its lead, then maybe the wildfires will stop again. To the world, big brands earn 70% off or 80% off on their shop, or only lose money. You will be surprised to know the truth. When a company or brand puts a sale or discount on their product, how do they earn during this time? We make a lot of noise during the sale, because the product of rupees. 10,000 products are available in 3,000. We try our best to buy as many products as possible so that the products do not run out. We think that we have robbed the brands during the sale when we are absolutely aware of the fact that we are not robbing any brand, but the reality is exactly the opposite. But how is it? Let me tell you. All the big brands do not count their profits on any one product. Instead, they calculate profits on their total investment. Let's assume that there is a garment factory and the company has invested rupees, 1 crore. And with this, rupees, 1 crore, 5,000 pairs of clothes were made, which means that a pair cost rupees 2,000. The company has made bulk pairs, so the company gets a bulk discount at every stage. Now the company puts a tag of rupees 10,000 in the new arrival and hangs it on the shop. The elite class, that is, the upper class, who can afford it, but their numbers are very low. They buy 10,000 from new arrival. But as I told you earlier that the number of such people is very low, let's assume that out of 5,000 pairs in the first 2 months, only 200 pairs were sold for the price of 10,000, whose total amount is 20 lakhs, came out in 2 months. And 4,800 pairs of clothes are still in stock. Now, the real game starts at this stage. The company knows that if it puts up a sale, the remaining 4,800 pairs will be sold in just 15 days. Now the company is waiting for any big or small day. Company also waits for big and small events like National Day or any other event which can be used as a basis for company to sell. Every month there is a certain event like Mother's Day, Father's Day, etc. Now as soon as company sells 70% off, means you will get a pair for rupees 10,000 in just 3 days. Every person has only one thing in mind, that the sale is about to end, and our favorite design should not be sold anywhere. Thinking this, every person buys more pairs than their needs, and in this way, the remaining 4,800 pairs of the company also sell within 15 days. Now let's know the calculation of this. 4,800 pairs were sold at a rate of rupees 3,000, and the total amount was rupees 1 crore 44 lakh, and the amount of the last 200 pairs was rupees 20 lakh. This totaled rupees 1 crore 64 lakh. The company had invested 1 crore 64 lakh rupees. 1 crore, and in just 3 months, it had earned rupees 64 lakh. But you don't know the most interesting thing yet. The company's staff salaries, shop rents, transport expenses, all these tensions are not a big company. That's because the company that can invest 1 crore has at least 10 crores in the backup. Because behind such companies are big industrialists and business tycoons. For them, such a large amount of money is not of much importance. Now the company's staff, shop rent, electricity, etc., expenses are such that the money that is lying in the backup, they have fixed it in a bank. Fixing means that the bank gives monthly profit to the company, out of which they get 1% profit per month easily. Profit, and the remaining expenses are paid by the employees. 10 crores is equal to 1%, which is equal to 10 lakhs. These 10 lakhs are used to pay the staff salaries and other expenses. Now we will tell you why people are forced to buy branded products. But the brands and companies that are here have a lot of brains behind them. A small shopkeeper who is running a shop alone, the situation of the company or brand is exactly the opposite. In such companies, the whole marketing team is allocated, whose only job is to force people to buy their products. Such marketing teams are always in the front of the people, and they are always in the front of the people to buy their products. Such marketing teams push their products in the market in every way. First of all, they get their products photo-shooted with a top model, so that when these models or celebrities see their favorite stars using such products, they also want to do the same. Many other ways of promoting to buy branded products. In 1945, on Christmas night, an incident took place in West Virginia, USA, which still stirs up memories. A man named George Soder was celebrating Christmas with his wife, Jenny Soder, and 10 lovely children. Every face was bright with joy, but who knew that this night was going to turn into a nightmare? And try to understand every aspect of the unsolved mystery. George Soder was a hard-working Italian immigrant who was against the Italian dictator Benito Mussolini. This is why he had to leave Italy and live in America. Talking openly against the Italian dictator could have been a problem for him, but he never showed fear. He was a truck driver in America, and fortunately, he had his own house. His wife, Jenny Soder, was a dedicated housewife who took care of her children with love and discipline. On Christmas Day, December 24th, 1945, Soder's children were playing with their new toys. It was night, and 5 children went to their bed to sleep in the upper room. At around 1 o'clock at night, Jenny feels smoke in the house. When she goes to see, she finds out that the kitchen has caught fire for some reason. George and Jenny go out with their 4 children, but the 5 children sleeping in the upper room stay inside. George tried his best to save them. When George ran towards the window of the second floor, he saw that his ladder was missing. He thought